was wondering how do you deal with all the pressure to kind of replace Freddie Mercury on stage? Because I've seen you during your show in Krakow, and it was just incredible. So is it hard to play with Queen?
You know, it's definitely intimidating because it's sacred ground. You know, Freddie was 1 in a million, and you know, there will only be one Freddie Mercury. So I always go into those shows just feeling like I want to just bring the songs to life again and celebrate Freddie and celebrate the band and perform these songs for people that love these songs, you know? I grew up listening to everything. I listened to a lot of theater music when I was a kid, and then I got into pop music when I was a teenager, and then I got into classic rock, and I really fell in love with a lot of the old favorites there. I don't really look at it as replacing. I just look at it as you know, bringing it to life.
God and James Dean, but Hollywood sold out.
The lyrics on the original High album are pretty melancholic, and the music is very uplifting. It's quite the opposite. So I was wondering, was that something that you wanted to do, or did it just come out that way?
A little bit of both. I mean, it was definitely something once we realized that was like a good idea for Ghost Town. You know, I think the rest of the songs kind of followed suit. I like the idea of having maybe more introspective lyrics with a little bit of sadness in them, but then on a song with a great dance beat that makes you want to move. I like the contrast. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and also you mentioned in a lot of interviews that you wanted to help people out with this music, with this album. It worked for me, so did it work for other people as well?
I think that the songs are very autobiographical. You know, they're definitely about my life and the things that I've noticed and observed. But I also hope that, you know, when people hear these songs, they can go, oh, okay, so I'm not alone. I feel that way too, you know. They're, the ideas behind the songs, the emotion is very universal.
And what's the most touching thing that some fan of yours has ever said to you about your music?
I've had a couple fans tell me that they were able to accept themselves better after listening to a song. You know, they found some sort of self-love and acceptance, and I don't know, I think that's beautiful. That's a good gift to be able to give somebody.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you did on the song There I Said It.
Yeah.
You're basically just telling the whole world to just F themselves, and you're saying, this is who I am, I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah, and also in that song it's to kind of like all the smoke and mirrors. Let's like quit being fake and like keep it real, you know? Yeah,
so it can be also interpreted as something about the show business. Is it hard?
Could be, yeah.
Is it hard to function in show business?
Well, I like some glamour. It's, you know, there is definitely an illusion of what people think show business might be, and then when you get into it, you realize that there's a lot more reality there. It is a business, you know, and it is a job at times. But then there are other parts of it that are like the best adventure in the world. So I think you kind of take the good with the bad, and you have to learn how to be comfortable with it all.
And with your first solo album, I feel like that was kind of you were looking for yourself, for your style, your sound.
Definitely.
And here on this one, I feel like this is it, like you found it. So
Thanks.
was that a long process to find out what you actually want to do as a solo artist?
I think what helped on this one is that I had really amazing people that were, you know, Max Martin and Shellback were overseeing the entire process. In the past, the way I did it was more spread out and scattered, the schedule of recording and writing. You know, I'd go with one producer one day and work there, and then maybe a week or two later I'd go somewhere else. But this time, it was all done with the same people, the whole album. And so I think that allowed me to be more focused and to bring more connection in between each song. So it has more like of a cohesiveness, you know?
Mm-hmm. And you worked on this album in Sweden, I believe?
I did, yeah. The first 2 months of the project were done in Stockholm.
So what was it like? And I've heard you went there in the winter,
yeah, it was
right?
Cold. It was cold and it was dark. It was cool though. It was, you know, Sweden's a really cool place, and it was good because, again, it allowed me to stay really focused because I didn't have a lot of other things going on.
and also Brian May
Yeah.
appeared on the record.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what that was like, because when I'm trying to imagine it, it's like you take a guy from a legendary rock band and you put him in the studio and you tell him, hey, let's work on a pop song. So what was it like? Did he enjoy it?
Yeah, I think he really enjoyed it. I mean, I played him the idea of the song, and he was like, oh, I like this. I have some ideas. So it was great to get him on a track that, yeah, it's more of a hip-hop beat, really. And so I think that's something new, to hear Brian's amazing guitar skills on top of a beat like that. And I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
When you appear on stage, do you ever get that original high anymore, or not?
I don't know. I don't know if you can ever I don't think you can ever like have the first time again. Even though that's like what we all want somewhere, you know, that we all kind of, without realizing it, probably we're all chasing that original high, but it's really hard to repeat the first time.
I guess it was Simon Cowell who said that you are too theatrical or something like that.
Yeah, when I auditioned for the show, yeah. No, he didn't say too theatrical. He said very theatrical. So
yeah, but I was wondering, why is it important for you to not just play a concert, you know, not just stand there on stage and sing, but to put on a great show?
I don't know. I guess I just try to put myself in the audience's position, and if I were in the audience, I would get bored if someone was just standing there singing the entire time. I think there are moments where that's really important, to just let the vocal do its thing and to connect voice audience. But if you're doing an hour-long show or a 2-hour-long show, I mean, gotta you know, keep people entertained, you know, and engaged. And yeah, that's just something I've always really been aware of, you know, with the background in theater. It's like you want to keep the audience with you.
Yeah.
You don't want them to get bored.
And they don't get bored at your show. I've seen some crazy things happen at your show.
Yeah.
I don't think it's appropriate to talk about that right now. But by the time we air this interview, you will have performed at SK Music Awards.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering, are awards something that is important to you, or do you just treat it as something fun to get to be nominated for something?
I mean, I definitely am always, if I'm nominated or win anything, I'm very honored. You know, I think that's really cool that people recognize something that I'm doing and appreciating it, whether it's the fans or other music industry people. It's great. But I don't think that this business is all about awards. You know, I think the most important thing is making sure that you have a connection with your fans and that your music speaks to them.
And when you're making a record and you listen to the songs that you've recorded, was there one song on this album that you were listening to and you were like, this is it, that's the one that's going to be a huge hit?
Well, Ghost Town, I remember when we finished it, I said, like, I want this to be the first single. It's not the most obvious choice as the first single, but I just knew that it was special and it was something new and different for me, and a great way for me to reintroduce myself, because it's different. It's a very different kind of song. So I recognized that it was unique, and that became my first choice for first single.
I was surprised when I heard the chorus for the first time.
Different. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a ballad, but it wasn't.
No.
And so you said you thought that was the one, and then Madonna had the single.
That was crazy when I saw that, because I love Madonna. I'm a big fan.
Who
and then when I
doesn't?
saw her that she had a song with the same title. And then a couple months after that it was coming out right as my first single was coming out at the same time. I was like, oh gosh. And I thought for a minute, should I change my first single, because I don't want to, have any confusion. But I realized that the songs are so different. They sound so different from each other that it didn't seem to be a big deal.
Everything worked out perfectly well. Thank you very much for taking your time to talk to me.
Of course.
It was very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.